Hi. Okay, I wanted to come on. We had a discussion yesterday. I'm not sure where I'm going to place this video, if it's going to ever at some point be public or not, but I wanted to come on because we had a discussion last night in our Sky Dancer container um, about the Mars and Venus conjunction. And one of the things we talked about was this idea of desire and courtly love, and how in alchemy, desire is a great tool for manifesting magic, right? The buildup of eros and this idea of courtly love. And one of the things that I used as an example was this video of a street busker who was singing songs from Phantom of the Opera. And I'll link this video, I'll find it and link it for you so you can have a really good example of it. Um, who was gathering, a little crowd around him, and down walks the main singer from the Phantom of the Opera. So the Broadway singer actually happens to be in the vicinity. She hears her song being sung by the busker. She walks over, she grabs a microphone. I guess the busker had a second one. I do not think this was staged based on his response. Um, and she starts singing with him. And at first, you can see his kind of like absolute just like, kid in a candy shop, the magic of, oh my gosh, I'm singing right now with her, with um, Christine, who is the character from Phantom of the Opera, the real one. And and she in the video is like encouraging him, like, no, just sing with me, like be in the moment. And there is this real kind of interplay, sort of like the archetype of the sacred prostitute who like snake charms um the like the coil of eros that sits down in our root and sacral chakra. She's just, you know, pulling it alive, right? And as she's doing that, he is getting bigger and bigger in his presence, and his voice is matching hers. And then it's soaring, and they're singing together, and they're having this out of time, out of space moment. And I want to come back and talk to the desire underneath that. So for him to be like a street busker, right, singing on the street, he has to have this desire to want to sing and share that joy and the love and his skill and his mastery of singing with other people, right? There's some desire there that brought him in. And we we want to, so there's this idea in alchemy that like desire, it means from the stars, desidere. It's this Latin word meaning like what the stars have for us. It's like the stars plant these different desires into each one of our lives. And if you go in and read the About a Session page on my website, I talk about the call and response pattern that the stars have with us, and how in life we are all in this co-creative relationship with the universe. And our art is how we show up to the events in our lives. Like if we started to see that everything that takes place in our lives as being an invitation, right, to respond, to um, dynamically be in relationship with life rather than drudgery or responsibility, but as a actual act of creation or as an opportunity to be an artist, life becomes more fun and playful. And if we treat life like courtly love, like there is this sacred other and the other side of everything that's being served up and coming into our awareness or into our experience. And so in alchemy, what they talk about is that the bigger the desire we have and the more unobtainable it is, the better, because the more it elicits this kind of response to this erotic response. And it doesn't have to be eros that's necessarily sexual. It's just the energy of desire that creates that. Like I remember that I wanted desire to have a girl so badly, like a daughter. I was probably one of like my biggest desires in life. I had three boys, and after having my last son, and I'm very happy with my son, with my sons. I love being a mother to sons, but after three boys, I was kind of like, I still want to have a daughter, right? And I got into these really deep desire states, and I wrote about that desire, and I prayed for it. I did ritual around it, all of that. I got pregnant. I miscarried. So I had that experience inside of my desire, right? Desire brings us all types of um, different out picturing to dance with, right? Like all these different experiences. But part of why the deeper desire to have a daughter was for me to step in more fully to my life and into my womanhood. And I knew that having a daughter would require that of me. It wasn't just a joy, right? Like, not, I didn't just want to have a daughter for myself, but it wasn't just the joy of, having someone to shop with and snuggle with. Like, we still have sleepovers. She's 13. She's great fun. But it was also because I knew that I would be initiated, right, by her birth, that it would raise me in my motherhood and my priestesshood in every single way in my life. It would elevate me to have a daughter, right? And so there's this way that like our desires are pulling us along our path of destiny. Again, another word that sort of means from the stars, right? And and the same goes for that busker. His desires are pulling him along his path, and then he winds up in this situation with the Broadway singer. And we can only imagine like the first of all, I think the video that was captured of that got millions of views. We can only imagine what opportunities may have come for him from from following that road of desire and moving from desire to desire to desire, and how desire is an informational, like an intelligent channel for living in alignment with our truth, right? And so, as Venus now is in the sacral chakra, although this is relevant all of the time, because we're all living in these co creative um, bubbles with the universe, we're all in this courtly relationship with the stars and with our chart and with life and with our karma and with our soul, right? And so, um, there's just been in the West and in sort of our Abrahamic religion and in our cultural upbringing, this real kind of squashing of desire, or this real containment around desire if we can't get it, like if it's the thing we can't have. And like I said, in alchemy, the bigger the desire, the more magic, the more eros, the more juice, the more manifestation power that creates. And so I really want to encourage people like to let your desires be massive. I did eventually have a daughter. It did. I mean, I got exactly the daughter I want. There were so many magical things about her conception, her birth, um, and the ways it did eventually grow me, right? But after having three sons, I'll tell you, I wasn't sure it was ever in the cards for me. So it felt like it could potentially be an impossible desire. Um, it's just one example that I can think of. And the ways that it's pulled me along my destiny, and the ways that it's had me step in and serve women and in just all new ways, especially around motherhood and pregnancy. And that wasn't something I was called to do or doing at all before Eliza was born. So there's that piece. And then the other thing that I had a conversation with Jessica this morning, and I think it's relevant. Jessica is an assistant teacher inside of Sky Dancer. And so we were talking this morning, and it's in one of the modules in the solar plexus, but I'll say it here in a more condensed form. But like, you know, this busker right? This desire, if we follow our desires, like truly follow them, like we're in an intentional, courtly relationship with them, like they tend to call in the exact experience in the exact size to help us bring the infrastructure slowly over time that builds our capacity to hold the biggest desire, right? And so as we're following the breadcrumbs of our desire and of our path and that the kind of like experiences that it's bringing us to, each time we're getting a little bigger. And I use my teacher uses this experience, and I used it in the conversation with Jessica about, people who win the lottery. You know, when you win the lottery and you haven't been, let's say, an entrepreneur, um, a lot of times people who win the lottery lose that money very quickly because they haven't built out the inner infrastructure um, to do that work. I'll never forget Lady Gaga. I showed my kids this video when she won her Oscar, or her Oscar for Shallow, for doing the movie A Star Is Born. Um, they interviewed her afterwards, and one of the things she said was like, I just want to say to all of the young kids who want to be celebrities that this is incredibly hard work, and you have to work very hard to play at this level. And I know a lot of people want to um, have talent and want to be successful, and my advice to you is put in the hard work. And if you can't put in the 12-hour days, grueling days, the time in the clubs, the time, handing out your records, if you can't do all that, this may not be the path for you. And, when she was playing in clubs and handing out her records and, being criticized and all that stuff, what she was doing was building the infrastructure to hold the success that she's had, right? And she's not burning out. You see the people who get that like instant overnight fame, how oftentimes they burn out very quickly. Their star burns hot, bright, and fast. And so, as we're following the path of desire, Jessica and I had been talking about offerings, like when we offer our offerings to somebody, because our desire is to teach or to share our medicine with other people. Sometimes only 3 people come. And then the next time, 6 people come. And then the time after that, 9 people come. And then 12, and all of the time you're building your skill, you're building your capacity to hold them. And then these were my numbers for offerings, like first group offering I offered, only 3 people came and I knew 2 of them, and then it was 6, and then it was 9, and they kept going up by threes. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And then it doubled. It wasn't just 12, it was 24, like it grows exponentially like that as we're able to attract in to match our desire. Because as much as in the beginning of sharing my medicine, I had the desire to do that, I had a lot of fears around that desire that made the container to hold what I might call in the response, it made it very small because there was insecurity around it. So doing the like meeting the different places our desire takes us, meeting it fully, being in full responsibility, right? Um, which is one of our words for the sacral chakra. Being in full responsibility grows the muscles to be able to hold the desire. And so I didn't want to make a really long video. I wanted to say this succinctly and quickly. I'm definitely publishing it, this in Sky Dancer, but it's such an important principle. Desire is something that fuels our life, and we need to, if we live with like a low level of juice or some frigidity or rigidity, or we look at our life and go, I don't really desire anything, I'm pretty comfortable. Um, I'd like to give you an invitation to look at that, to look at putting some desires in place, to getting in relationship with desire, to understanding that you incarnated for a purpose, and that purpose never stops. It's not like we hit some point and then we just plateau around desire. I mean, sure, you'll have moments where you're basking in the reception of getting something you desire. But after that, if you just get too comfortable in that plateau, um, yeah, things stop moving, evolution stops happening, stagnancy sets in, and movement is one of our principles for this month. And so it's really important to, once we feel the glow of the reception of getting something we desire starting to dissolve, to not just get too comfortable and too complacent, but to allow new desires to come in, to sit with what do we desire, to feel in deeply into our hearts to the true thing that we desire, and put those desires back out there, get back into relationship with what they are, so that you can begin that process of, it's like desire like opens like a bud. It's very slow and very beautiful process of like just letting a desire open and being with it and following those breadcrumbs of where that desire takes you. And you know, there can be almost an obsessive or longing or yearning type energy that goes along with desire. And so if you're feeling like you don't have any desires yet, you do yearn for something, um, follow that as a beginning breadcrumb and see what that longing or what that yearning opens for you, because that's desire. And it's one of the juiciest, most alchemical, magical uh, experiences in our lives: longing, yearning, desire. So that's the invitation here at the sacral chakra. And I hope you guys got something from this. And of course, we can always discuss or ask questions in the comments if any part of this wasn't clear. All right.